do that, here comes the slideshow. Ready?
Ready.
You can see me, you can hear me. You see the slide?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So, please allow. That was my good friend Mick Jagger introducing me. But please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Bob Levitus. People call me Dr. Mac. That was the title of my first book. Let's see. I've written 83 or 84 books, including all of those and many more. But today I'm here to talk to you about my new thing, which is Working Smarter for Mac Users. It's my new everything. It's my company. It's my new ebook. It is an online course and a philosophy even. And it's a website, workingsmarterformacusers.com. It's, what else is it? It's a book and a course, I said that already, and a mission statement, because every business needs one. I read that somewhere, so I made one, and this is mine. I want to show you. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Somebody just called.
Oh, okay. I want to show you how to use your Mac better, faster, and more elegantly. I want to teach you how to banish procrastination forever, and I want to show you how to do more work in less time so you have more time for things you love. That is my mission statement, and my mission. And this is his book, the Working Smarter deal. So, this is what I want to do. This is what the book does. This is what the course does. And what I want to do now is demonstrate a little bit of Working Smarter for Mac Users. I want to show you some of the... Actually, you know what? I'm wondering. Do I have time? I have time. All right, before I show you some examples, actually, George, how much time do I have?
About 40 minutes.
Okay, I'm going to skip through, but I'm actually going to slide out of this for a minute then. I had some stuff from the introduction. I'll show you quickly a couple of these slides because they're cute, but there's me when I was 6 years old, and there's me at military school when I was about, 13, and there's my first Mac.
Yeah.
And there's my first book. And there's the first magazine I ever edited. And here's why I love being a Mac user so much. Because we have Photoshop. And then I found out one day that I have this thing called attention deficit disorder, and so I wrote an ebook and blah, blah, blah. But because we don't have that much time, I'm going to actually skip right through all of this and the prelude and get right to Working Smarter. Example number 1. And we'll go back into the slideshow for this, okay? So, example number 1 of Working Smarter. Learn to type faster. This one's so simple. But the truth is, I put this in my first book in 1989 because it seemed so obvious to me, and people for years said, wow, nobody's ever said that before, but that is really good advice. And that is, if you're not typing 40 or 50 words a minute without looking at your keyboard, you could speed up everything you do just by learning to type a little faster. And you know, when I learned, I was about to get a new Mac Plus in 1980-something, and I realized I didn't know how to type because when I was in school, typing was for girls, and they wouldn't allow me to take the typing class, or home ec for that matter, both of which I wanted to take, but because that's where the girls were. But it was very segregated, and so I was never taught to type. I went to college and paid people to type my papers for me, or I pecked them out with 2 fingers. It was horrible. So when I decided to get a Mac, before it arrived, I decided it would be smart to learn a little bit of touch typing, and I got my wife's typewriter out of the closet, and I bought a book at a bookstore. Remember those? So I bought a book at a bookstore, and it was typing drills. It was like, just page after page of type this with a timer and see how, So I got my typing up to about 40 words a minute, and I got a Mac, and then I got Made This Beacon or something like that, teaches typing, and I got it up to about 60 words a minute. And it hovers in the 50s now because I don't practice, but 50 words a minute is a pretty good clip. If you're not typing 40 or 50 words a minute, you might want to consider doing something about it, and I've got something to recommend. It's free. Look, this is from my first book, Dr. Mac, 1989. If you're not typing at least 40 words a minute, you're wasting time, blah, blah, blah. So go to typingtest.com. It's free, and they have, they have a test where you can see what your current typing speed is, and then they have some lessons and some games that will help you get improve your typing skills. If you devote, 5 or 10 minutes a day for 2 weeks, I'd say you will be 25% faster typing, and that is a big gain. So if you're not a good typist, you might want to consider boning up on typing. All right, number 2, here's another example for you. This is batch renaming of files. This is something, I'm going to hide this stuff here for now, and I'm going to do a demo. Ready? Here's my demo. Let me get your little call thing off the screen. All right, you know what? Enough of that. There we go. So I've got a folder full of files that need to be renamed. Now I used to use, and I still do sometimes, a $20 or $25 utility called the Better Finder Rename that would rename that batch of files. Because really, that isn't very helpful. Image 1, image 2, image whatever. And so, one of the things is, what's in these pictures? So before I rename them, I'd want to slap the space bar and do a quick look. Oh, that's a picture of my last visit to Florida. That's an alligator and her babies. See that? There's one. 1, 2, 3 babies on Mama's back. So they're all alligators. I want to rename them so they don't say image 1, 3 or blah, blah, blah. So I will select them all. Now, in the old days, I would use a third-party app. But these days, it's built right into Mac OS X. You just right-click on those files that you've selected and say rename 33 items. So in this case, there's 3 ways you can rename. You can replace text. I could replace the IMG with something else if I wanted to. Let's look at what that would look like. So IMG with Gator Mama. So that's what it will look like. I'm going to zoom in for you there. Yeah, there we go. Gator Mama 01. That's good. I think that's what I want. The other 2 ways you can do this are to add text at the beginning or the end of the name, or completely delete the name and come up with a new one. In this case, a name and an index, which is a name followed by a number. I'm going to go with that original replace. I'm going to replace IMG with Gator Mama. And there we go. And as you can see, all of the, in a couple of seconds, all of the, I guess I have to zoom out for you to see, but all of them are renamed in one swell for free. So that's built into Mac OS X, and that comes in really handy when you've got a mass of files that you want to add something to their name or change the name completely. So there's 2 things I want to show you while we're here that are also parts of working smarter. One is there are views in the Finder of your windows. The icon view, here, let's zoom in on that. The icon view, the list view, the column view, and the, whatever they call it, view. The view nobody uses. So you've got your icon, list, and column views, and what's really good is to know the keyboard shortcuts. Command 1 will get you icon view, which is really useful if you want to see what's in those files. The contents of graphics files are nice and large there, okay? Or Command 2 gives me the list view, which is always really good because you can click on the header to sort by that item. Now I'm sorted by name backwards from in reverse alphabetical order. So Gator Mama 031 is last. If I click here on this little caret, it'll flip around and Gator Mama 01, or actually those two detour folders will be first. All right, the second thing I wanted to show you is a lot of times you got a bunch of files like that on your in a window, and you want to move them all, so 33 files, into a new folder. Now, in the old days, you would create a new folder somewhere, name it, grab these files, move them to that new folder, right? And today, Mac OS X has a built-in feature that makes it so that you can do it all in one step. And that one step is right-click, new folder with selection. Now I've got a folder with all those things in it, and I'll call it Gator Mama Pics. And if I open that folder, you'll see I have 33 Gator Mama Pics. So right-click, put all this stuff in a folder, and when you do that, it even selects the name of the folder so that you can go ahead and rename it. Okay, example number 3 of working smarter. Did you know that you can be a dictator? Not like a ruler of a country, but someone that speaks and has words appear on their screen. It used to be you had to buy, I don't know, $200 or $300 piece of software called Dragon Dictate maybe, to dictate to your Mac and have the words appear on your screen, and it's no longer necessary. These days, you can just enable dictation right in your system preferences. So in system preferences, the first place to go is keyboard, and choose dictation there. Turn it on. Click the checkbox for enhanced dictation. Only do this when you have a good network connection. So the first time you do it, it's going to download a bunch of stuff that it needs to do dictation when you're not online. If you don't click that checkbox, you may only dictate when you have an internet connection. So you probably want to check that, but don't do it unless you have a good internet connection, because we'll start downloading a bunch of stuff. And you might not want to do that at Starbucks or on anybody's Wi-Fi except your own, assuming your own Wi-Fi is good. Okay. Choose a language. I'm going to assume most of you would choose English, and a shortcut if you want to use keyboard shortcut to enable and disable. Then choose your microphone. This little thing here where it says Blue Microphone Spark, which is the microphone I'm using, is a menu. You pick the microphone you want to use, and then make sure that this thing is bouncing. See the white bouncing right there? Whoop, boop, 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 boop. Can you see that? It's a level meter, and so that tells you that your microphone can hear you. Okay, so that's part 1. Part 2 of setting up your dictation requires you to go to a different system preference pane, the accessibility pane this time, where you will, again, choose dictation. And here you want to choose dictation commands. It's this button at the top. And when it opens, enable advanced commands. Why do you want to do that? That will allow you to, in addition to being able to type words by speaking them, by dictation, it also lets you perform common editing tasks like select the next word, select the next sentence, go to the beginning of the page, go to the end of the page, go to the beginning of the selection, the words, scroll up, scroll down, blah, blah, blah. Lots of stuff that you can do with your voice if you enable these advanced commands. If you don't, all you can do is talk and have your Mac listen. Now, I'm not going to be able to show you how that works in live, because if I were to start dictation right now, it would crash the streaming video. I've learned my lesson about demonstrating this live. So what I've done instead is created a slide. I'll show you that slide, which has the thrilling conclusion. No, it doesn't. I have the old version of this. So let me show you the thrilling conclusion. And the thrilling conclusion is in a movie here. Ready? There it is, the thrilling conclusion. It's coming.
Have you ever wanted to become a dictator? Not that kind. I meant the kind that talks to their Mac instead of typing. If you don't like to type, or if you can't type due to repetitive strain injury or other ailment, dictation could be just a ticket. Or, if typing fast isn't your thing, maybe dictation will be. And even if you love to type, dictation's kind of nice as a change of pace. Now, dictation may also be faster than typing for some people, especially if you can talk clearly and quickly, or you type slowly and poorly.
So that is what dictation looks like had I been able to show you live in real time. Example number 4, snippets. So this is one of my favorite things about using my Mac to write. In almost any app, there are things that I say every day that I type a million times a day. For example, you're my cuckoo flag. For example, I have all these email addresses, and each one has probably 30 or 40 characters in it, and I probably type them 10 or 15 times a day, and there's a bunch of them, so it's a matter of remembering them and typing them accurately every time. I found a better way. I call it using snippets. If you're familiar with Text Expander, that's the product I use to do it, but I'm going to show you how to do it right with your Mac without spending any money. It's built in, and you can do a pretty decent job of snippet replacement and expansion without spending any money. So this is how that works. For example, I have a bunch of email addresses. If I type BLC, when I press the space bar, it expands into Bob Levitus at BobLevitus.com. If I type BLM, Bob Levitus at me.com. BLG, Bob Levitus at gmail.com. BWS, Bob at workingsmarter.com. And so on. So think about it. How many characters are these? That is 100 characters that I just typed by typing 12 characters in spacebar. So I saved myself however long it would take to type 88 additional characters and type them correctly. Another thing I write a lot are titles of my books. People ask me about books, and I'm always inserting the name of one of my books in text. And so WSM gets me working smarter for Mac users. IP is iPhone for Dummies. SFD is High Sierra for Dummies. IPFD is iPad for Dummies, and so on. Also good for things like the URL to workingsmarterformacusers.com. It's a mouthful and a lot to type 10 times a day. So WSA, Working Smarter Address, gives me the URL. But wait, there's more. So that's like some of the easy stuff. But there's even better. Okay, you've got my email addresses. I've got signatures. I've got fun stuff like LLP gives me this wonderful live long and perspire quote. LLP, live long and perspire. Or IAP is the name of my production company, Involuntary Auteur Productions. Also a mouthful and quite a bit to type repetitively. Now, if you want to spend some money and you get something like Text Expander, you can even do sophisticated things like this. I get a lot of email from public relations people asking me to check out their Windows product. And it infuriates me because the name of my column is Dr. Mac. And the other column is called Dr. Mac's Rants and Raves. I would think it would be pretty obvious that I'm not a Windows guy, but they insist. So I used to reply very politely and calmly, but I wanted them to know that if it's about Windows, I'm not interested. And finally, I made a whole snippet thing for it in Text Expander that lets me tailor the message to my mood. Watch. So if somebody sends me one of those, in my reply, I just type no win, no window. And this little window will pop up. All right, pop it up and then zoom in on it so you can see it. Okay, there we go. So first of all, I get to pick the salutation, to whom it may concern, or how many times must I tell you, or dear really annoying PR person. And where the X's are, I type in the name of their product. And then for my sign-off, I can say, sincerely, warm personal regards, very sincerely yours, or option 5, which wasn't fit to be shown in mixed company. So I replaced it with option 5 wasn't fit to be seen here. But whatever is my mood at the time, I select that, I click OK, and it types the whole thing in. I just replace this right here. You know, window, Rama, window, Rama is a Windows-only product, blah, blah, blah. So those are snippets. They're awesome. They save you a ton of time. And I like the commercial program Text Expander to do this, but you don't need to do that. I'll show you how you do it without spending a penny. Again, we go into our friend system preferences, and again into the keyboard system preference. And this time we're going to do not shortcuts, but text. And that lets you create these replacements. So there's the BLC, Bob, B-I-C, Bob at iCloud, Bob Levitus at BobLevitus.com, Bob Levitus at gmail.com, Bob Levitus at me.com. To create a new one, you click the plus. You type your 2 or 3 or 4 letter abbreviation over here, like proc. Because I always misspell procrastination when I type the whole thing. So I'm going to go with proc and change it to procrastination. So now, when I type PROC, I already had it, but that's how that works. So from now on, when I type PROC, it will expand into the word procrastination, which for me is what I want it to do because that's more typing than I want to do. All right, last but not least, I got one more example of working smarter, and this is called the Pomodoro technique. And the Pomodoro technique basically consists of, well, the idea is you focus on one thing for a short period of time, 25 minutes, and nothing else. You don't stop to do email, you don't go look at your web browser. You do everything in your power to avoid going down a rabbit hole, and you focus on one thing. I use an app called ZoneBox to keep track of this. It's free in the Mac App Store. And what I like is it lets me load up a bunch of tasks, like newsletter, chapter 2, blog post, mail and news, and give them 25-minute chunks. And then when I want to actually do the work, I start a session, which is 25 minutes, and then I can see in 2 places the purple line above, no, I guess I can't. I can't circle it, but the purple line right above 13 minutes and 29 seconds tells me that I'm halfway through a 25-minute session, 13:29 being roughly half of 25 minutes. The other thing is it turns the menu bar purple, and it fills it up like a progress meter. So the further to the right the purple goes, the closer I am to the end of this session, which helps me a lot. So for 25 minutes, I work on only one thing and one thing only. And that has been really, really really helpful. Because there's only 1,440 minutes in the day, and if I don't at least force myself to use some of them wisely, I don't get any work done. The other thing that I found, besides just having the Pomodoro, plan and 25-minute chunks, the other thing is I have to write myself a daily plan. I have to take my day and all the hours that are available in it and break down what needs to be done. And you may not be able to see it, but every day I fill one of these out by hand with a pen and leave it on my desk where I can see it. I find it incredibly helpful to program things in every 25 minutes. So for each hour, I can have two things. And I like not to do the same thing twice in a row. So if I'm working on a column for 25 minutes, the next thing I'll schedule is 25 minutes of email, and then back to the column, and then something else. I find that I can stay focused much better if I don't try to do all of it at once. If I break bigger tasks into smaller chunks that I then interrupt with other things to keep me from getting bored. The other thing is, you can download this and print it and try it if you like. I find it so helpful that every morning, like clockwork, I walk in my office and fill this out before I sit down to do my work. And a lot of times I do it the night before, so when I walk in, I can just sit down and know exactly what I have to do. Remember this, the most important tasks, that's key for me, because those are things that really must be done today. It might be write half a chapter, it might be call so-and-so, it might be come up with a concept for this. Whatever it is, it goes up there in those most important tasks. You're not limited to 3, but 3 I find is a good number. A lot of times I'll scribble in a 4th or a 5th. Sometimes I'll only have 2 in one day. But the point is that I know what's important and what I have to finish today. And I also know how many hours there are in the day and how many of them have gone by already. And, so I can kind of keep tabs on myself. And as far as goals go, I'm not even sure that they're helpful, but I've read that they are. So every day I try to list 3 longer-term goals, like I'm working on a new course, and I want that to be finished by January 15th. That's in my goals for this week. Finish writing the scripts by next week. Next Friday is my deadline for the scripts. That's a goal. And then maybe on the left, one of my 25-minute sessions would be work on lesson 2 of part 3 of the course. You can download all this stuff at workingsmarterformacusers.com/free. There's a couple other goodies up there. There's a cheat sheet that will, here, I've got a whole slide, I think. No? Well, let's go back to that, though. There you go. workingsmarterformacusers.com/free. I've got some other stuff up there. Keyboard shortcut cheat sheet. I've got some inspirational quotes like the ones that you see running around the edges of my Superplan worksheet. Got lots of stuff. Okay. What else we got here? Well, I guess that's time. It's time for the questions. Let me switch back to full screen mode so you can see me instead of just the little me up in the corner. There I am. Questions?
All right. We're ready to go.
Can you demonstrate an example of creating one of those shortcuts, those typing shortcuts?
I'm sorry, is that Ken?
Yes. Can you demonstrate creating one of those snippets?
Yes, absolutely. Here, let's do that. So first we'll go into System Preferences. Wait a minute, I need to give you back the screen. There we go. We start in System Preferences, Keyboard, Text, and as you can see, I've got it where if I type semicolon AP, it will replace it with an Apple logo, or comma AP. And if we go into our blank document, I can show you that that works. my document. Coming. My poor little MacBook Pro is working very hard right now. There it is. Okay. So, I'm going to move that over so you can see the replacements on one side as I do them. So there's the replacements. So if I type semicolon AP space, comma, AP space. Why aren't they working? Let's try the next one. There you go. If I do the little R in braces, it'll turn into a registered trademark. Fractions.
Those are Apple ones.
Turn into real fractions. And now to create one, I'm trying to find one that I don't know. All right, let's do WSMPF. Well, I already have that. WSF is working smarter for Mac users.com/free. So when I want to send somebody something, when I want to tell somebody where to download this, instead of typing out that whole address, I just type WSF, and that will type working smarter for Mac users.com/free. So the plus lets you create a new one, and the minus lets you delete one that you don't need anymore. And they work anywhere, and they kind of transfer to your iPhone, although not totally. I'm not sure what you can do to make it happen. Something with this, it's one of the things that we sync with iCloud, but there is no specific turn it on or off. So, I mean, these work on my phone and on my iPad, so they're syncing from my Mac somehow, but I'm not positive how you enable that.
Does anybody know? Does anybody
on your iPhone and your iPad? Let me tell you.
Does somebody know the answer to how you get that to sync in the room?
I think I might be able to find it. I'm pretty sure it's here in iCloud. In System Preferences, iCloud something. And I think there's a category of like other. If nobody else knows, I'll let's see.
Will it also work with
It might be when you do your keychain. It might be with keychain. Oh, here it is. There you go. No, I don't think this is it either. No. So I'm pretty sure it's when you enable keychain syncing, it's one of the things that gets synced with keychains. It might be with notes. I don't know. Anybody know? I'll have to do some research. I'm curious.
Peter, what were you saying?
will it also work in Pages?
Will it also work in Pages?
It works in Pages, and if you've got whatever it is that you're supposed to enable, it'll work in Pages on your iPad or your iPhone too.
Okay. Emails?
And in Mail on your iPhone and iPad, which is where I find it really helpful.
Good.
Don, you had a question?
Is that where he can make that letter to the Windows PR people and that same that you just described?
No.
No.
It was in text expanded.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
In
One
Pomodoro,
more thing though.
One second.
Before we, okay.
What
More
were
questions?
What were you going to say?
Oh, I have one more thing before we depart.
No, we're not done yet.
Well, if we have more questions, I have one last thing at the end.
Okay. Speak loud.
okay. Pomodoro technique, what was that, the name of that free app?
You need to repeat the question. I couldn't hear it.
On the Pomodoro
technique,
what was the name of the free app?
The free app is called ZoneBox, and if you go to the Mac App Store, there are like 100 Pomodoro timer hacks. If you don't like the one I like, ZoneBox, which is free, there's many others. Just look for Pomodoro timers. And really, you don't even need a Pomodoro timer. You can just say to SIRI, hey, set a timer for 25 minutes.
Any other questions? Any question is fine. Yes.
Why does he use Word versus Pages? Is it because he's an author? Why is he using Word? Does he have a problem with Pages?
Why are you using Word versus Pages?
Because I write for publishers that require me to use Word, and so almost everything I've ever written is in Word already. If I could switch to Pages, I would. And in fact, the actual text for my ebook was composed in Pages because I didn't have to deal with a publisher and print production. But when I write a book for dummies, they require me to turn it in Word using Word style sheets, and nothing else will do. I cannot export from Pages as a Word file and get away with it. I've tried, believe me. I wish I could.
Why is that?
Why is it again?
Why is what?
Why can't you do it? Why can't you export from Pages to Word?
Why can't you export from Pages to Word?
Because the what do they call it? Revision tracking information isn't accurate, and it doesn't survive the export-import process properly. So they can't tell what I've changed in the document. If they send me the Word file and I edit it in Pages and then save it as a Word file, it messes up all of the parts where they're supposed to be able to see where I've made edits. So it has to stay in Word the whole way to have fidelity, unless it's not going to print. And in the case of my ebook, even though it is going to print, I'm in charge, and so I didn't have to use Word at all. Thank goodness.
Any other questions while we have them here? Yes.
Somebody's going to have a book about Quicken, a dummy book about Quicken.
We need a dummy book about Quickens. Any ideas?
For Mac.
For Mac.
Right.
For Mac.
Right to the publishers. Don't ask me to write. Wait, was that Quicken?
Yes.
I'd rather eat mud. But if you want to see a book about it, you can go to the For Dummies website, which I believe is fordummies.com, and they have a request button. If enough people are interested, they might actually find someone to write that, but it won't be me.
Why do you feel that way?
Because the company that publishes Quicken is actively hostile to Mac users. They've screwed us 3 times that I can remember, and I'm sure more than that, by discontinuing support for products, not updating them in time, having products with bugs in them, and I just won't do business with Intuit at all. Now, I know that they spun out Quicken into a different company a couple of years ago, and maybe things are different now, but fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me. Or however that goes, but you know what I mean.
We got it.
The help isn't bad, really.
Well, how what?
The online, you can call them up and they answer, and they're usually pretty good.
Okay.
The new company.
The new company.
Okay.
All right, maybe I'll give them another chance someday, but you know what? I don't even use that kind of software at all anymore because my bank has what I need in their app and online. You know, the only things I really used it for was checkbook balance, checkbook management, and occasionally for some planning, but really everything I need I can get from my bank and do whatever I want with whenever I want to. So I don't even use a financial management program anymore.
Okay, Don?
You said you were using your MacBook Pro. Is that a new one with the replacing the F function keys with that sliding thing?
It's the one before that.
Do you think that is going to change it?
It took me a long time to be able to get to where I only had to have one computer. For a long time, a lot of the things I was doing, music and video, required a bigger computer than a laptop to do well. Then, a few years ago, the laptops caught up enough that I can edit video on this. It's a 2015 MacBook Pro. I can edit video. It's got 16 gigs of RAM. It's got Thunderbolt, so I can have fast storage that I can take with me. And I don't need a desktop computer anymore. However, when I do stuff like this, where I'm streaming video, I'm encoding, and I'm making a Skype phone call all at the same time, it taxes it. I think next year I'm going to need to reevaluate whether I can get by with a laptop. I'm going to have to test the new laptops and see if they've got enough horsepower for, crunching this video on the fly. And I do a lot of editing for my courses. I do a lot of video editing, and I love being able to do it anywhere. To be able to go on an airplane, go somewhere, and be there for a week, and not have to stop editing because my laptop isn't up to it. So I'd like to keep one computer. I really didn't like having two computers and having to manage documents between them, and do I have the right files on that one when I leave? Having everything on one computer has been a lot more convenient for me. But I'm going to rethink it next year because I now have lots of online storage. I have my own network attached storage drive that's got 8 terabytes of storage. And, there's music is all in the cloud, and a lot of my video is on the NAS device, so I can access it from anywhere with Plex. I'm thinking maybe a laptop again, but it just have to see how it is editing 4K video, because I think I'm going to start doing 4K video next year. So next year I'll look at a laptop. I hope it doesn't have that touch bar.
Okay.
I hear it's horrible.
Next question. Right here.
I was researching the thing about the text editing, and according to the article I have here, it's activated by the iCloud Drive feature.
He said, one of our members said that the text editing is activated by iCloud Drive.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Then that's what you need to enable in the iCloud system preference pane to get the text snippets to sync. That's good to know. Thank you, whoever figured that out.
Don?
No, he answered my question about that slider thing.
Okay. Okay, you were going to mention one last thing.
Yes, indeed. Hang on one second. I have to, here we go. One last thing, and that last thing is, thank you so much for your time this morning, and I'd like you to have 25% off all of my products, my course or my ebook. Use the coupon code SAVETIME when you check out, anytime until next Wednesday, so for a week. And the URL for that is, oh wait, that's not the right URL. It should be buy, not free. There we go. All right, so workingsmarterformacusers.com/buy. Use the coupon code SAVETIME and save 25%. The prices are, either one is $19.99, so you're going to get them both for $15 instead of $20. And I got one more thing. Let's see. Here we go. Closing credits.
It looks like you got a big organization.
The end.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.